I'll keep it quick, guys, but every single one of you were amazing. I was sitting at, 380 subscribers last night. Get up today, I'm at 460. Gained 80 while I was in my sleep. 400 subscriber video is going up tomorrow as the time I'm recording this, and I'm making the 500 subscriber video now. We're gonna get straight into it. I don't want to become sappy with you guys, but just thank you. Put the controls into a nosedive, Hulk Hogan. Because the 500 subscriber special has to be possibly the most toyetic wrestler of all time, Ultimate Warrior. Now, the Warrior, when I was a kid first getting into wrestling, I adored him. As I got older, into my teenage years, I grew to resent him. I thought that he was everything wrong with wrestling. Kind of the same the line of thought I had with Hogan. But nowadays, now that I'm an adult and I'm a little bit more laid back, not so wanting to just go out and find stuff to dislike, I respect the guy again. I mean, best wrestler in the world? No. My favorite wrestler? Not even close. But a guy who left an indelible mark on wrestling, someone who is just as iconic as your Macho Mans, your Hulk Hogans, your John Cenas, your Stone Cold Steve Austins, your Rocks. Absolutely, Warrior is all those things. Warrior is the science experiment, right? If you closed your eyes and just tried to imagine the perfect wrestler, a lot of people would probably think of the Warrior. Big dude, jacked body, face paint, screaming, energizing. He is like the test tube wrestler. And I think that's a huge reason as to why he's so beloved. And that's probably also the reason why he has so many figures. This is not even a fraction of all the toys the Ultimate Warrior has had over the years. This is just my humble collection of the guy, and we're going to go over my top 10 Ultimate Warrior action figures. Number 10 was incredibly hard to narrow down. It came down to these two warriors. On one hand, you have the Superstars Warrior, an iconic Survivor Series attire that I've never had in action figure form before, purple being my favorite color. I love the yellow as well. But on the other hand, you have this guy, Master of the WWE Universe Warrior. And ultimately, even though I'm a wrestling fan first and foremost, I kind of decided to go with the more toyetic one. So, Master of the WWE Universe version 2 Warrior. Version 1 looked a lot more like your normal kind of warrior. This one, look at this. It looks like Warrior was meant to be in Conan. It looks like he was born to be a He-Man character. And this figure really does just have an amazing color scheme look, and I especially love this cape. It's a reuse from Masters of the Universe Classics. I don't remember who it came from. Maybe Vicor? That sounds right. But yeah, just everything about this guy, especially that manic head, where it's you look at it the right way, he's either grimacing or he's having a slasher smile. It's so good. This is my favorite warrior of this type of body style, which we've had 3, so that is saying something, and he is a perfect place to start. Okay, this warrior is on the list because last night I was on the phone with my friend Maddie, and she's I was showing her some wrestling figures. She saw this and she literally said, "Oh my god, that's the action figure equivalent of meth." And it's yeah, I can kind of see it. Look at this. The acid wash trunks, these crazy face paint colors that looks like a child's finger painting. You got the pink and blue boots, and then back here, the heart that beats only for the warrior. It's Jesus Christ, dude. The Warrior had some amazing attires. I'm not trying to take that away from him. But out of all the action figures I have of the guy, this is probably the most manic one. And yet, it's one of the most standout. He's not a front rower. He's not going to be the centerpiece of a collection. But God, I'm so happy to have him because he is so manic. And I think he captures a side of the Warrior that we don't usually get out of action figures. Yeah, in case you couldn't tell, this is going to be a very Mattel-heavy list, and we're actually now talking about the first Ultimate Warrior I ever had in my collection. This is the Royal Rumble 2021 Ultimate Warrior, and the reason I love this Warrior, right? This is the Royal Rumble. What Royal Rumble would that have been? Would that have been 1990? It would have been his first face-off with Hulk Hogan, when Hogan and Warrior were the only two people left in the Rumble at that point. staring each other down, building up to their WrestleMania 7 encounter. And I always love the fact that the first step of that angle, of that feud, you have Warrior in orange and yellow, so close to the Warrior, or to Hulk Hogan's colors. Like, there's something about this guy that's just so popping. And for a while, I was satisfied with it being my only Warrior until I got more comfortable with the idea of having multiple figures of multiple wrestlers. Now, the only complaint I have with this guy, these tassels, they are QC nightmares for me. I'm constantly having to fight them back on there. But the sheer presentation of this figure really is popping. I love that they remembered that he had like different colored belts for his Intercontinental Championship title. So for all those reasons, it's a great one. Just one that has a few quibbling issues that bring it down. I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for the Bone Crunchers, and the Warrior's no exception. Now, granted, mine is a bit wall-eyed, and he's missing his tassels on this arm, and also, he's pretty loose. But even with all that, God, this figure's so cool. I loved having him on my bone crunching display so much. I can't wait to get that new Macho Man, put him next to this Warrior. And overall, weirdly enough, this is one of the more, like, drab Warriors. Like, with that black face paint and the darker blue, he doesn't pop as much as most Warriors do. And yet he still pops incredibly with the Bone Crunchers, because so many of them are just black or blue or brown. But this guy, as always, Warrior's like crack in a lightning bolt put into like a friggin' Mountain Dew bottle. Like it's literally just there to get you on your feet moving, and then you have a heart attack. At number 6, this is how you know it's my list. So this Warrior from Ringside Exclusives, right? He's fine. He has a really bad head sculpt. Like, I don't know what that sex doll mouth is he has. His attire's fine, just blue. But the reason he's on here, this is 97 Return Warrior, which means his duster has the comic book on it. It has the comic book version of Warrior. Oh, dude. If you ever want to, like, feel like you're going insane, go read the Warrior comic book from the 90s. It is actual batshit crazy. One of my highlights is one when he kidnaps Santa and takes over the North Pole. That's last issue. But also the time where he's in a swamp and a plane crashes and the pilot is like, "Kiss your ASSS goodbye." And also, like, after the plane crashes, Warrior's like wading through and like there's people dying and burning around him, and the monologue is like, "The Warrior's intellect lets him know what is rightfully right and wrongfully wrong. You cannot go through weakness. You must search for the strength within yourself and only yourself, for none of those around you will help you, and you cannot help any of those around you." And it's like, it's the ravings of, like, friggin' Ted Kaczynski, man. Warrior, like, I know he liked those monologues of his, but maybe he needed help at that point. I just name-dropped Ted Kaczynski in the top 10. Wasn't expecting to do that, but hey, more kid-friendly, this is the Retro Warrior. I'll be honest, there's 3 Hasbro Warriors. There's one I really want that I don't own. There's one that I think's fine. There's one that, spoiler alert, is going to be further on the list. But I think the Retro Warrior might be the best all-around figure Warrior's ever had in this style. Like, he's using the John Cena attitude adjustment gimmick from the Retro line. He looks great. I love the colors. They pop off him. Once again, talking about my friend Maddie, when I was trying to figure out which Warrior or which wrestler they were talking about, I showed her this one after showing her a few other Warriors, and this is the face paint she recognized. So, like, weirdly enough, I don't remember what this attire comes from, but it is kind of, when I close my eye, the attire I think of when it comes to the Ultimate Warrior, the green with the pink. So, for all those reasons, I think it's a spectacular Warrior, even though there is one in this style that I had to put a little bit above it. We are now in my Mount Rushmore of Ultimate Warrior figures, and this is the WrestleMania 7 Ultimate Warrior. Bad head sculpt. Right off the bat, we're going to say it. But, man, the duster, the alternate hands, this depiction of Macho and Warrior fighting, his attire underneath, look at that. He painted himself screaming on top of his own dick. And also he has the Macho Madness knee pad, and here on the back, means much more than this. So, real talk. We're getting off topic from toys for a sec. I always heard that he had these trunks to say, like, oh, he's saying that this grudge match with Macho means more than the World Championship. But then I think I saw in a shoot interview, someone else said, no, he did that to piss Vince off, because what he's saying is the belt means more than this grudge match, and he's mad that he's out of the title picture. I don't know which of those is true. Either way, I do like the trunks. There's a few things that bring this figure down. Like I said, head sculpt, pretty bad. But overall, the thing that kind of hurts the most about it, we were supposed to get a matching WrestleMania 7 Macho Man Ultimate Edition, an update from his Defining Moments figure. And I was so excited. That was going to be like my figure of 2023, I feel like. And it got canceled. I don't know why it got canceled. It seems like WWE might not have the likeness rights to Macho Man anymore. So that kind of also brings this figure down. Because I wanted a matching set. I thought we were going to get a matching set. We're not getting a matching set. And if I could have only had the Macho or the Warrior, I would have wanted the Macho. But I'm not going to hold that against this Warrior too much. It's still an incredible figure, even though the first Defining Moments Warrior is probably better than this one. Our bronze medalist has to be the Legends Warrior, the Old Man Warrior, back to give one final promo and then literally die the day after. I know it may sound cynical or even corny. This is my favorite moment out of the Warrior's entire career. Because you gotta think, right? He leaves wrestling after that bad WCW run. He kind of becomes a laughingstock. People don't really remember him. He comes back for the Hall of Fame. He gives this speech on Raw, legitimately the best promo of his career. Very emotionally charged and honest and vulnerable and open, yet still proud and strong and determined. And then he dies the next day. It kind of mystified Warrior in a way that pro wrestling hasn't been mysterious since the 80s. And even more, it reinvigorated the public perception that no, he wasn't a joke. He was right there with Macho, he was right there with Hogan. And even though I have some issues with Warrior, I'm not going to deny that's what he deserved. He is that guy. He is in that conversation of who is the face of the Golden Age WWF. He's in that conversation. So for all those reasons, the Warrior, maybe not my favorite wrestler, maybe not my favorite person, but an incredible titan of this industry we all love so much. And this figure captures his final moment. And yeah, I like the fact that you have the removable mask, you have his face underneath, very good face sculpt. You have the duster that you can take off. There's options with this figure. Mattel gave a love letter to the Warrior and to Warrior fans, and for all those reasons, I feel like this guy, I'm almost considering now, like, should he have been number one? I don't think he's number one, because he's not a great playing figure, but for what he represents and what he is, he definitely needs to be in my top 3. I needed to have the Hasbro Ultimate Warrior version 1 on this list. Number 2 might seem high, but I'm sorry, dude, it is my favorite toy line. Jumpers, my least favorite gimmick in the Hasbros, but Warrior kind of makes it work. It helps that he's larger than most of the jumpers, and also he's so eye-catching. Like, again, kind of like the Retro, this is the same attire, it's just a little bit more diluted. But, like, you had the pink, you had the white, you had the green. I just really love this figure. It feels so magical. It feels so perfect. It feels so timeless. Would I have preferred something besides this? Yes. Now, the reason why I wouldn't give it to version 2, which is another Hasbro I own a Warrior, is I don't like his attire as much. It's a little too white. But this one, he pops. And he pops regardless of where you put him on the shelf. And there's the fact that at the end of the day, he was also there in Wave 1. He was one of the original shipments of this great style, of this great toy line, that still to this day, wrestling fans adore. So for all those reasons, the original Hasbro Warrior has to be my number 2. I'm not sure why, but the one Warrior figure that just stole my heart and never let go, the Warrior figure I'd keep if I sold all the rest of my Mattels, and even all the rest of my Warriors in general, it would be this Legends Dingo Warrior. Now, Dingo Warrior, that's from World Class Wrestling. It's from the Von Erichs, their home territory, and it was where the Warrior kind of first became the Warrior. Before that, he was part of the Blade Runners tag team with the guy who'd go on to be Sting, and it was in World Class he became the Dingo Warrior, which is this guy. And then it was his popularity and his talent and his charisma from there that he went on to the WWF to be Ultimate Warrior. It works out pretty well. You got both head sculpts. You got this amazing body, right? Like, here's the thing. It's super simple. Just the red, the blue, and the red again. It's simple by the standards of the Warrior, and yet it feels like it pops so hard. Like, it's such a good color combination. And there's the fact that you get a really good 2-in-1. So you have Dingo, and, like, he looks so different from any Warrior we've ever had. It's so weird to me that Dingo Warrior, despite happening 5 years earlier, looks so much younger than Warrior looked when he was Ultimate Warrior. But I love the simple face paint. I love the gritted teeth. I love the mustache, the mullet. Like, all this stuff, it's something that we've never had in a figure before. We've never had original look Warrior. We've never had Dingo Warrior. But here we do. And then, if you don't necessarily want Dingo Warrior, you get what I honestly think is the best face paint I've ever seen on an Ultimate Warrior figure. This yellow and blue pops, man. It just pops off the shelf. And the figure head still looks great on the attire. Like, it doesn't matter that it's not blue, it doesn't quite match, because it still looks really good. It's really weird that my favorite Warrior figure is one that just recently was on, like, super deep clearance at Target. But it is my absolute favorite Warrior figure. It looks the best, it feels the best, it poses the best. It has 2 separate heads that I think justifies owning a second copy. But even if you just want one, both of those head sculpts are winners. You can either have a more unique figure, or you could have one that's more iconic and would look great on just a WWF shelf. With all that said, of all the Ultimate Warriors, this one has to be the most ultimate. And there you have it, my top 10 Ultimate Warrior figures. I won't drag on for super long. All I'm going to say is, one more time, thank you everyone for joining the channel, following me over on TikTok. I want to keep getting bigger. I want to keep doing better. I want to do more videos, do more figures, do more everything. You guys are amazing. Thank you for sticking around, and we'll see what we get up to next time.